Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Ohayo gozaimasu. It gives me great pleasure to join you in this prestigious Nikkei forum, which has now gone through 30 years or 3 decades of extensive discussions and discourse among captains of industry, regional leaders, and policymakers. And therefore, I'm delighted to be here. I thank Nikkei for the invitation, and may I share you some of our concerns. Issue of uncertain world. Because we are living in post-normal times. There's no certainty. There was the issue alluded to the elections in the United States. But even then, whoever wins, whether Biden or Trump, the policy is still uncertain because leaders would decide based on the economic imperative and national interests. And my view has always been that finally sanity should prevail. But for us in the region, as we have alluded to earlier, our focus must be ASEAN cohesiveness, to strengthen ASEAN as a formidable economic force. We have been successful in the last few generations to fortify ASEAN as a peaceful venture with minor issues, and now having to grapple with the Myanmar crisis. But the way forward for ASEAN is to enhance its collaboration in economy and trade and forge greater economic alliance with Japan, Korea, China, Australia, India, meaning the focus on the region. When we started, or when Nikkei Future began its deliberations, we had about 28% of global GDP. Now we are talking about 35%. And regional issues in Asia are now also primary global concerns. Now, even as much has changed, some constants remain. Global economic challenges and the specter of uncertainty, deep-seated anxieties, reach far beyond borders and social fabric of nations. We are dealing with new challenges, not only issues of economic disparities, rapid technological change, environmental degradation, and all these challenges are coming at the same time, to the extent that they create and popularize the term simultaneity, everything happening simultaneously, both the crisis, say Russia-Ukraine, or Israeli-Palestinian aggression, or climate crisis, or civil concerns, all happening simultaneously, that would compel leaders, political and captains of industry, to be alert and equipped to deal with these challenges. Now, rapid technological change and AI technologies hold the promise of immense, unfathomable societal benefits, but may well be a Faustian bargain, raising the specter of widening digital, social, and economic divides. We either seize the opportunity and create this new awareness, more concern about justice and equity, comradeship, friendship, collaboration, which we in ASEAN forged to believe and commit to, or we should be dragged into the old mantra of Cold War conflicts and divisions, hatred and suspicion. We choose a more realistic approach to be able to work together to be able to engage with all societies and countries, and that would ensure a better future for Asia. That's why these seemingly unsurmountable challenges enjoin us to seek and forge a renewed vision of Asian leadership. The vagaries of the world, increasingly turbulent, and the crosswinds of economic and geopolitical shifts threaten to veer us, of course. But unlike 3 decades ago, today, Asia now possesses the economic weight, strategic capacity, and the collaborative might needed to navigate the challenge, or these challenges. That's why I venture to assert that finally our future rests on our leadership, taking a bold move, considering and working on the strength of our sub-region and region, instead of being dragged by the international conflicts. Yes, we cannot avoid discussing about Russia-Ukraine. We have taken a position. We do not support the invasion of Ukraine, but we want to continue to engage with Russia, notwithstanding the differences. We condemn with the utmost strength the continued colonization and apartheid and genocide in Gaza and Palestine. But we call for ceasefire and peaceful resolution and respecting the two-state solution, because that will ultimately ensure the peace. But notwithstanding all these conflicts, Malaysia, ASEAN, and the region should forge using economic policies, economic fundamentals, economic strength, investments and trade. And as a result, would be able to champion the cause of our citizens and alleviate the living conditions of our people. Because this has been done. I'm not suggesting therefore something new, because we have CPTPP, we have Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, and we know that RCEP alone involves nearly a third of the world's exports, population, and GDP, making it the largest trade bloc in the world. As Malaysia appears to assume the chairmanship of ASEAN next year, we are committed to continue championing these ideals. On the economic front, our focus will firstly be on the strengthening of economic cooperation among member states. I reiterate this point because whilst we have been rather successful in maintaining a strong, cohesive force diplomatically, bilateral relations, sub-regional and regional in ASEAN, we need to do much more to work together to enhance our capacity to attract investments and trade and become an important economic regional bloc. And using that to work together with our traditional allies. And Japan is, of course, very important in this regard, because one of the first few countries that has helped us to propel our economy through massive investments, trade, particularly in the manufacturing sector from the 70s to the 80s. Recent diversification of global supply chains and FDI flows must create tangible benefits. Secondly, we aim to enhance our economic cooperation with our partners from across the globe, extending beyond Asia, because, as you know, whilst there is an increase in trade among the region, Japan, Korea, China, Australia, but cumulatively, United States remain our largest investment, largest country that have placed so much importance in terms of trade and investments. And now Among the European countries, you have seen growing investments from Netherlands, Germany, and France. So it is self-evident that policy making in the 2020s and beyond cannot be divorced from careful considerations of circumstances around three global megatrends: geopolitics, digitalization, and climate change. That's why we have unveiled policy frameworks in this regard. Our Malaysia Madani framework outlines strategies to drive sustainable and inclusive development. At the core is the importance of not just raising the ceiling for real GDP growth in the range of 5 to 5.6% per annum, but also raising the floor. First quarter this year we achieved 4.2, which is quite remarkable in the climate of stagnation and sluggishness in the world economy. So we align closely with Prime Minister Kishida's new form of capitalism policy, underscoring the deep connection and shared aspirations between Malaysia and Japan. The second major policy that we have introduced there is the new Industrial Master Plan, which represents whole of government approach to industrial policy. And this I must commend the collaboration with Japanese companies, including strategic sectors such as semiconductors and steel. Finally, the National Energy Transition Roadmap, Malaysia's comprehensive strategy to ensure that the country meets its commitment to achieving net zero emissions as early as 2050. This warrants that we operationalize initiatives in energy efficiency, renewable energy, hydrogen, green infrastructure, carbon capture, utilization, and storage to build Malaysia's climate resistance. And again, I must comment, in my session, in the briefing last night, I'm meeting capitals of industry from Japan who have placed major interest in having Malaysia as a hub in this regard. So these strategic blueprints are indicative of Malaysia's role in building Asian leadership in the economic, digital, and sustainability. Uncertainty abroad has only solidified our resolve. So we take a more optimistic view. People talk about crises, unending, unprecedented, expressing their concern about what's happening in the United States towards the end of the year. But we take a more optimistic view. And we have seen the ingenuity of our people, our professionals, our industry to overcome this. But using our regional, sub-regional, and regional strength instead of being too particularly disturbed and obsessed by developments abroad, which we have limited capability to try and resolve. Malaysia accepts that we are an emerging economy, relatively smaller country. We are, of course, determined to express our views, frankly, openly, as an independent country. But we understand that these are somewhat unsurmountable, not easy to resolve, but it would not stop us from focusing on the economy, trade, and investments, notwithstanding the differences I've alluded to. No. We give an example, for example, the vibrant semiconductor industry, which fortifies our role as a reliable regional partner in manufacturing, trade, and innovation. We have a robust and mature manufacturing base, especially in the global electronics and electrical industry, being the world's 6th largest exporter of semiconductors. Now, as tensions are brewing elsewhere, especially with the imposition of trade restrictions getting more intense in microchips, investors across the world are looking for a safe haven. And we welcome, Malaysia welcome investments. And that's why I say We have problems, of course. We want, if possible, the issue, contentious conflicts between China and United States to be resolved. When I was attending the APEC meeting in San Francisco in front of President Biden and President Xi Jinping, I said, we welcome. The meeting is something commendable and we welcome. That's the maximum we can do. But then, notwithstanding the continued differences, we have an advantage. The German foreign policy says they de-risk from the experience of the Russian invasion of Ukraine to not to be over-dependent of China. So they are looking for safe haven midway, and they have chosen Malaysia. So I believe Japan would do likewise. I dare say that Malaysia fits the bill, thanks to our stability, skilled labor force, and our economic and geopolitical non-alignment or fierce neutrality. The proof is in the numbers. In 2023, the state of Penang, incidentally where I come from, Malaysia's semiconductor hub, attracted $13 billion in FDI, exceeding the total for the previous 7 years combined. We are setting our sights on the future through an increasing strategic focus on front-end activities such as water fabrication, the design of integrated circuits, and advanced packaging. Now, truth be told, this could not have been achieved without Japan and our other partners in the region. Etched in our memory is the humble beginnings in Penang during the 1970s, when companies such Clarion and Hitachi were part of the 8 Samurai. There is the first wave of E&E manufacturing investments into the country. Active Japanese FDI has been a crucial factor in the success of Malaysia's semiconductor industry, and this is true even today with recent large-scale investments coming in from Kaga Electronics and Ferrotech. As the world's foremost Islamic finance hub and center for halal trade, Malaysia has consolidated its position as the top Islamic economy for the 9th consecutive year, serving significantly as a bridge between East Asia and the Middle East and North Africa. Malaysia's openness to trade and investments, the manufacturing, services, and the primary sector alike is reflected in its FDI performance last year, during which the country successfully attracted 188 billion ringgit in approved foreign investments, a 15% increase compared to 2022. Now, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, last year, Prime Minister Kishida and I had 2 summit meetings in November and December, culminating in upgrading our bilateral relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership. We also expanded our cooperation into the realm of security, collaborating in the maritime security sphere. Japan and Malaysia share a common vision for Asia's future based on stability, connectivity, and cooperation in support of rules-based order. In reflecting about the state of the region and the world, I am drawn to a quote from Okakura Kakuzo, the Book of Tea. The art of life lies, brilliant statement. According to certain reliable sources, accounts, Kakuzo's concept of thus in the world sane, being in the worldness, as expressed in this phenomenal book, published in 1906, had actually inspired the great German philosopher Martin Heidegger's magnum opus, Sein und Sich, Being and Time, which was published only in 1927. Remember, Kakuzo in 1906, Heidegger 1927. Although Heidegger did not allude to the quote or reference to Kakuzo. Considered to be among the most influential philosophers of the 20th century, Heidegger, of course, has never mentioned or attributed this huge intellectual debt to Kakuzo in his book of tea. So I digress a bit. But the point about Kakuzo's quote here is that the art of leadership and governance demands that we adapt to the shifting dynamics of global economic, political, social, and cultural forces of our time. Towards this end, Malaysia will remain dedicated to fostering shared growth, bolstering regional cooperation, and maintaining our openness to trade, development, and commerce. Arigatou gozaimasu.